Welcome to the Bleep Bulimia podcast with Nan Saysana on finding freedom. Hello, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am the host of Bleep Bulimia. And today I have Nan Saysana, and she is a weight loss coach. But the big difference for this, it's not about weight loss, it's about a relationship with food. And I'm really excited for her to share her story. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
So this is interesting. I'm in Canada. She's in France. She's Paris. I'm Mississauga, just outside Toronto. I just love these Zooms that we are able to get so close together, even if we're so far apart. So, and share our stories. So, speaking of sharing the story, what inspired you to become the weight loss coach?
Yes. So thank you for that question. So it was the pain, I suppose, the pain of being a binge eater for 30 years and then finding the solution, something that sticks until this day. And whenever I was, in the throes of overeating on a regular basis, and by overeating I mean, for those who don't know what binge eating is, it's really having a whole jar of Nutella or peanut butter when I was feeling bad. I didn't know at that time the connection between the where I was feeling and what I was eating and how fast I was eating, etc. But when I was there and trying so many different things that didn't work, I kept telling myself, well, if one day I find the solution, I really want everyone to know because this is so painful. I felt so disempowered, powerless, helpless, that I was thinking, if one day I find what works, really, I want everyone to know. And so I did find it. I'm thrilled. I've got chills as I say this. And now this is the mission I've given myself, just to share and to let everyone who needs to know that there is a solution to binging. And I started by listening to a podcast. That's why I love podcasts so much. And this is what started the whole journey. So I used to think, okay, I need to change what I eat so that I stop binging. I was so focused on the food. I was thinking food is the problem because I overeat. So must be the solution. I need to change what I eat. I need to find right foods. There must be superfoods out there somewhere that help me change the way I eat. So I kept looking, looking, looking. And of course, in diets, those magical fads that we want to believe in. But nothing worked. Nothing worked long term. I kept going back to the same behavior of binging. And one day I started listening to a podcast that was explaining exactly what maybe you can see on my background, which is if I was overeating, it was because of the way I was feeling. And if I was feeling a particular way, it had nothing to do with my day or what somebody had told me or what the weather was like that day, etc. It was because of what I was thinking. That was what was making me feel bad, usually, most of the time, but sometimes also good. And I wanted to keep the good thing going. And that was what was driving me to eating a lot super fast and feeling terrible about this. Once I saw that, then yes, it clicked. So it didn't click immediately, magically, it was not a magic solution and overnight everything was solved. No, it was slower than I wanted, obviously, but it did work over time. And now I feel free after 30 years of struggling. It's been now, I don't even, maybe 6, 7 years that I no longer binge eat and not an issue anymore. I don't fear food anymore. I don't dread going to parties or having a buffet or being given a slice of cake. It's just, yes, it's food. Yes, I'm eating it. I'm eating different types of food. There's no longer good food or bad food. And that's why I call it food freedom. It's just that I feel free around food when before it was all the time in my head, 24/7, this constant battle that you must have experienced too. It's just like, I want to eat this, but I shouldn't, but I do want to, but I shouldn't, but I mustn't. But all those stories, it's gone now. It's just out of the window.
That's funny about what you're saying. I should eat it. I shouldn't. I should eat it. I shouldn't eat it. And then you always like, yep, I'm going for it because your brain is so tired of arguing. You just shut it
Yes.
off by going to it. Um, I
Yeah.
actually enjoyed that you wrote, and it started with me too. So I was 16 at the time. My sister was getting married and she put me on a diet. She told me I was overweight. I wasn't. I mean, I was active in sports and I was about 130 pounds at 5'7". That's not overweight. But the food charts
Mm.
back then, they had food chart. I mean, weight charts, right? If you're this is what you should weigh. And they were so wrong. And that doesn't, they don't make sense at all. So I had never known what a diet was. I went on a diet and then that was it. And I saw that you started a diet and same thing. That was it. It just messes with your brain. Like it, I was eating fine. I never thought about it. So I
Mm.
never thought about my weight. And then all of a sudden I
Yeah,
became obsessed with it. Yep.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same story. Yes, also started at 16, not because somebody told me I was overweight, but still it was that time where with my friends, there was so much judgment on women's body, and I was hearing that. There was also this unfortunate sentence from an authority figure, me, who looked at me in a changing room and told me with a disgusted face, "You've got cellulite," as if it was the worst thing ever and that I had caused it to myself. I understand now she meant well. She thought she would trigger, something in me that would drive me to take better care of myself. I really think that she believed that. But it started this loop, started dieting again, just like you. And I agree, it messes with our body because it creates that restriction, that physical restriction. We limit the food we eat intentionally. We limit the categories of food, the qualities of the food, but also the quantity. And of course, body is all of a sudden super afraid that we're not going to make it, we're not going to survive. So it goes into survival mode. And of course, as soon as it sees, it just craves it even more. So there's this physiological reaction from our body, but also the restrictive feeling. So it's not just these sensations, but it's also the emotions. We tell ourselves constantly, yes, I want this food, but I can't have it. And that creates this forbidden fruit loop in our head that just, it makes it even more compelling. When in reality, if we slow down and eat it mindfully and really savor it, we notice that no, it's not as enjoyable as this is. But because we believe the food is wonderfully naughty or indulgent or something like that, we make the desire, the craving for that food even bigger. And then we're also creating that deprivation feeling, that restrictive feeling by thinking, no, 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 I can't have it. I mustn't have it. This is not good for me. It's out of the range of possibilities for me. So yes, this restriction, either because of the sensations or the emotions, that's definitely what's driving actually the urges to eat. They're making it bigger, much bigger than it could be, it should be, whatever you name it. So it's definitely, yeah, messy. I totally agree. It messes with our brain.
And it's funny, actually, I just thought about this and never thought about it. It's almost biblical with Eve and the apple, right? Because she wasn't supposed to have it
Oh,
and then ended up eating it.
yeah.
Okay, whoever believes that story or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the story itself is actually very much what it is. It's that restriction. Couldn't eat,
Mhm.
you're not allowed to eat the apple. Then it makes you want to eat
Yes.
more, right? Um, and
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's that I find that restriction is crazy. And the other thing too is even if you're on a diet and you restrict yourself, but then you say, okay, I'm going to just have one piece of pizza because you've been
Mm.
restricting yourself, odds are you're not going to stop at that one,
Totally.
right?
Yes. Because as soon as you're given the opportunity to have the forbidden thing, you want to keep going because you
Yep.
don't want to go back to restriction. And also, there's this phenomenon that as soon as you've had one slice, even though you gave yourself permission to have one slice, as soon as you've had it, you tend to go to, oh, I shouldn't have it. I've been bad. I've ruined everything. So who cares anyway?
Uh,
It doesn't matter. Let me have the whole pizza and more. And
yeah.
so we go from nothing to all and back and forth again and again. And I love what you said about Eve and the apple, because when you said it, I was thinking, oh, but it's so reassuring that you're bringing very old story because it means it's so common. I don't know about you, but when I realized I was binge eating, I know my behavior was not what it used to be, the way I used to eat. I knew that there was something going wrong. But there was no other example. My mom had this encyclopedia of medicine, and it was talking about bulimia, it was talking about anorexia, but binge eating, no, it was nowhere to be seen. So I was thinking, okay, if it's not even mentioned, it means that I'm really a freak. I must be the only one to do that. And it built even more shame. But bringing it back to Eve and the apple, so we don't know if she had just one.
That's right,
Maybe
right?
she had several. We don't know.
It's a good one.
But it's this story too. So it's so reassuring to think, oh, yeah, it's a very old pattern.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one to do this, to have this. No, no, I shouldn't have it. So I have it. So it brings, it makes me feel so relieved when you say it. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, it just came up now. I've never actually thought about that, but then all of a sudden, it's true, that restriction. And that apple was a restriction. And it was food,
Mm,
funny enough.
yeah.
Right. So,
Mm-mm.
just to let you know too, even bulimia, for years it went unknown. The Romans did it. It was men. It was very high society. They would eat and purge on big, like it was a ceremonial thing for men in the Roman times, and it was accepted. I mean, that's it. Like I said, it was like high-end people with lots of money, and they would just have these big feasts, and they wanted to keep eating. So, it's
Wow.
the knowledge base of bulimia really is men doing it, not women, but it became a secret to women later on.
Mm,
My mother told me that because there was nothing, like you were saying about binge eating, um, nothing about bulimia at the time when her sister was younger. So my mom's 90, her sister was 8 years older than her. Unfortunately, passed away when she was 80, but when she was younger, she was bulimic. So if you
mm,
look into that, they were born in the 1930s. Well, mom's
mhm,
5, so she would have been in the 1920s. So the teenage years would have been in what, the 40s, 50s. It existed then. It was just never noted. And really, ultimately, the notation of eating disorders, anorexia starting with was Karen Carpenter when she
mm,
died of bulimorexia. And all of a sudden, it was all over the press. And all of a sudden, there was a bunch
mhm.
of people wondering, what is this? Right?
Yeah.
It's weird that it takes a celebrity quite often, just like even with AIDS,
Mm,
Hudson, to bring it
yeah.
to forefront.
Mm,
Right.
yeah. But I'm so glad too that it's been talked about,
Yes.
because it can reduce the shame by thinking, okay, I'm not the only one. There are other people. And if we talk about it, if we share what we know, but how we feel about it, what we think about ourselves doing it, then it brings a sense of normality. And I'm not saying a normality that means that, yeah, it's going to be like this forever and ever, but just on the contrary, if we accept that this is happening, we build a foundation for it to change, for it to move, for us to evolve. But when we kept in secret, when we kept in shame, when we keep ourselves in secret, because I refused to mention to anyone what was happening, even though I had so many thoughts about this, yeah, then we stay stuck. It's like being in quicksand and, not being able to get out of it.
So
But
going back,
talking about,
sorry,
yeah,
just going back to the apple, there's the
go
difference.
ahead.
When she took the apple, everything changed. And it happened in our lives,
Yes.
but it was apparent that everything changed. All of a sudden, there was apparently shame and all that. But
Mm,
think about that, the apple, the shame, and all that. But we don't talk about it. But that's part of, I think, the secret, right? Like what you said in what I read
mm,
about you, is beating yourself up.
yeah.
It becomes that. It
Mm-mm,
and you became aware of that you were actually beating yourself up. That's what you learned from
mm-mm.
the podcast, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I learned that I was beating myself up, and I thought, and I have lots of clients who think that it's necessary to beat themselves up so that then they will change. And maybe that authority figure I was mentioning also earlier on saying, well, you have cellulite. It's just that's the same idea that if we say something to ourselves, or if we tell somebody something that stings enough, then they're going to react. And lots of people believe that we need to use the stick so that then we change our ways. Except that when I know I'm going to criticize myself, when I know I'm going to judge myself very harshly, I don't want to know. I don't want to have a look. I don't want to explore. I just run away and I run towards the food. Not so it's just perpetuating the cycle. But if I tell myself, no, I'm going to be kind to myself from now on, I'm going to really explore what's going on in me. I'm going to be curious and kind and maybe learn what passion could be like. That it's not a free pass to all, but it's just like talking to a child who doesn't want to brush their teeth. Just I understand you don't want to brush your teeth, and yet you're going to do it. So it could be the same. Just I understand how scary it is to have a look at what's happening, and yet we want to feel better, don't we? You deserve to feel better. So let's have just a little peek. You don't have to open the whole box or country or whatever to see what's inside, but just right. But just have a little look, and then if you're not feeling comfortable, that's it. But it could be like interval training, building your trust, building the safe sense of safety around having a look so that you can do it for longer, you can do it with more comfort, with more security, and slowly but surely you feel better in the short term, but also in the long term, and you get out of this spiral.
And I like that too, because when you're kind to yourself, you become a better friend to yourself and you get to like yourself more and then eventually actually love yourself more. I mean, I know that I annoy myself sometimes, but I'm my best friend. And I do, because like I just lie. But that was a big thing in me is not worrying about what other people think, what other people see. It's about who do I want to live with? Because I'm with me every day. So
exactly.
yeah.
Totally.
There was another thing. So there was, I'm trying to think because there's so many things that we were talking about how the binge eating and the bulimia are so, they're like sisters, really very, very close together. The only thing is that, bulimics are binge eaters. We are, but people don't notice it because we hide. And I'm thinking that my sister-in-law, sadly passed away, but she was a binge eater. And we used to talk. We got along really well because we could actually share each other's experiences. Only thing is, at one point she got to about 400 pounds. And so it's not hidden that people know binge eating. Now you were saying you can't talk about it. That's the other thing too. People will binge eat and then become overweight or severely overweight. Like my sister-in-law was. There's, and we talk about shame, but there's different levels of shame. There's the hidden shame and then the physical shame where it's actually showing about that. So to move this forward, I would imagine that you don't just, I mean, you help all types of people, the ones that are, fit binge eaters, or also the ones that are binge eaters that would like to, that's where the weight loss comes in. And it's very important because health-wise, it's very important. Right?
Yes, totally. Yeah. Yes. And it's true that sometimes you see that, yes, the person must be overeating in some way because they're overweight. So, yes, when we overeat, chances, the natural result could be that we're overweight. It's not always the case, though. Some people can be slim and it doesn't show. But it's true that there's shame in both cases. There's the shame of the behavior, and for some people, there's the shame of the way they look. And sometimes they hear comments that, of course, are adding to this spiral of it can be self-disgust, self-hatred. But I love what you said earlier on about getting kinder to ourselves, despite, and that might be hard, but despite the comments we may hear from other people, but becoming kinder to ourselves and becoming our best friend. And I love that because that felt so foreign to me. And that can feel so far into my clients. They're afraid that if they're being kind to themselves, then it means giving themselves, the right to eat anything and everything whenever they want. It's not that. And also, I remember that I used to have this relationship with food, that food was my go-to for comfort, my go-to for entertainment, for fun, as if it was my best friend. It
Yes.
was my stuffed toy, when I was a kid, as the thing I would go to. And now, and I love what you said, now I rely on me. I know that I don't have to outsource my fun, my joy, my comfort, my rewards to food. I can create them for myself. And that's what I teach to my clients, whether it shows for them that they're using food as a coping mechanism to numb their emotions, or whether it doesn't, because it's the same behavior. And what I love doing is really focusing on the behavior, because then it's just not a question of weight loss, because we could lose weight in so many different ways, but that's not really what we want. And we want the healthy kind of weight loss. We want the weight loss that sticks, that lasts, because it's not a diet or fad or whatever, but because it's deep, it's to the level of our identity. We change the way we think about ourselves, we change the way we think about food, we change so many things deeply that, of course, it lasts. We're not the same person anymore.
Yeah. We are and we're not. And in fact, we pull
Yes,
together
yes.
a lot of the better and get rid of some of the is. Uh, Interesting that you were saying too that you help people too to be able to enjoy a piece of cake, a chocolate cake, if they want to. So I have a book, and it was called How to Have Your Cake and Not Eat It All Too. So when I was reading that, I thought, oh my goodness, you're perfect. Like, uh, it's and again, we were talking about that is taking away the restrictions that you can.
Yes.
And without
Yeah.
feeling, oh my goodness, I had a piece. Now, well, I may as well eat the whole cake. Like, it-
Mm.
and you spoke earlier to eating slowly and savoring it. That was a big part of my recovery. Um,
Mm.
I bring up her name a lot, Joan Borasensko. It's a book, and she speaks to that. Um, how quickly you eat, how slow you eat makes a big difference in the taste, in knowing when you're satiated, when you're full. When you eat fast, you can eat a whole pizza and you don't feel full, but let me tell you, 20 minutes later, oh, whoa,
Yes. Yes.
I
No,
do.
absolutely.
Uh,
Yes. And that's exactly what I was talking about with a client today. She was wondering, is it possible to lose weight without feeling bad? Or is it only I can only feel good when I'm eating food and then it means that I can't lose weight? Is it either or? And I was saying that no, there's a middle ground, and that's really what we're trying to find for her and so many people. Is just if you could actually savor the food, enjoy the food even more than you are currently enjoying it, and getting the health and weight loss or weight that you do want. And this means that then you're going to focus on the sensation and really take your time to, okay, what does this piece of cake look like? What does it smell like? What do I like about it? What does it taste like in terms of flavors, in terms of texture? Right. What is the sound that I like when I eat this brownie, cookie, whatever, or chips? And you're right, it gives us this sense of satisfaction, not just the physical satisfaction, because yes, when we slow down, then the body we take the time to really let the body digest. And so 20 minutes later, we may still be enjoying the food, but it gives us also, because we're being so present with it, it gives us the emotional satisfaction and giving ourselves permission to slow down and to really have the piece of cake, without doing it in secret and fast. And that was a big mindset shift for me, allowing myself to go to a bakery, sit down, and be enjoying my food with everyone seeing myself without fearing that they would judge me, that was really good for me because it helped me drop slowly but surely the guilt that I could have around me eating food that I was still kind of thinking were naughty and that I was not supposed to eat, but it changed completely the relationship I have with food. And so I like to say there's no more good food or bad food. It's just my experience of it that has changed. I'm allowing myself to make those choices and to really enjoy them fully.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's interesting though. I remember one point what I read from you, you said that you had lost weight on a diet and it scared you, and then you
Mm,
weight back on and more again. What scared you about losing the weight?
yes. Well, what scared me, I think, was that it felt as if I was losing control, as if I think the thing now that I did was that I was kind of disappearing
Oh,
because I was getting smaller and smaller, and I was being congratulated for that. I was being complimented for that, and I wait, people like that I'm kind of vanishing, that I'm getting smaller and smaller. Is that what I want? And now I think there's still this idea that women who are small are kind of who don't take too much space are kind of valued as if that was a value. That's the way I interpret it, and maybe it's true for some people that yeah, a small, a tiny one is a kind of good woman, but that's what I want to be. That's not who I want to be. I want to be a woman who says what she has to say
wrong.
and be okay with that. Yeah, exactly. To be on podcast and to tell everyone that there's a solution. That's who I want to be. I don't want to be small. But it's as if I was hearing this message that it's good, you're becoming small. That's actually what we want from you. I didn't like that at all. Right. So I think that's this maybe it was in my mind the way I interpreted it, but I didn't like that at all.
And it's an interesting thought. I don't know because I was not anorexic, but I know that I got small. There
Mhm.
might be some psychological thing in like getting small and disappearing.
Mm,
You're not as people are not noticing you as much really because you're just sort of, once you lose the weight, they go, wow, you lost weight, but then that pans off like everything else. It's just the honeymoon and
mm,
then it's gone and then you're just not there anymore. It's an interesting thought though, because that psychological thought is maybe
mm,
some other listeners could actually relate to. Um,
mhm.
Disappearing, just getting smaller
Yeah.
to smaller. I never really thought about that, but very neat. So tell us, so we have here, you've got your thought, feeling, actions, and results. So do you want to go through for our listeners how you process this? And I know everyone's different
Mhm.
that you're going to work with, but your general idea on this.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, when a client comes to me with a particular issue, we explore when, for instance, they say when a client told me today, well, I've been particularly bad lately with food. And so first, I like to drop the being bad and just go back to the facts. What do you mean by being bad? What does it look like? If I had a camera following you around, what would I have seen? And so, what are the facts? And and then she mentioned that she had eaten, several biscuits when she had told herself she shouldn't. So that's what she was calling bad. So there are different ways to look at it. We can put what she actually did in the circumstance line of what we call the model and what you can see here. Just what were the facts? What happened really without you bringing an opinion about this, but just being like a police detective and just what are the clues? What would we see? And then we can choose to have an opinion about this. This is bad, but we don't have to. We can just go back to the neutrality of the situation. I ate food, but isn't that what we're supposed to do as human beings? So we can remove that layer of shame or guilt if we want to. Also, we can explore that. Okay, if that the action that I took, I ate X amount of food, that type of food, okay, that's an action. That's what I did. And we know that we never take action like this out of the blue, random. There's always a reason for that. And the reason is a feeling. Whatever we do, whatever we don't do, it's because of the way we feel. And so if I see a piece of cake and I think, ooh, that's going to be fantastic, of course I feel kind of excited, and of course I reach for the food. But if I eat the exact same food and I think, ooh, this must be poison, then probably a form of disgust or distrust or maybe some form of threat, and I don't reach for the food. So of course I'm being very caricatural here, I'm taking extremes, but it's to show you that what we think creates the way we feel and drives our action. And of course, then what we eat, what we don't eat, has an impact on our body, on our health. So that's what I teach my client. And we go through any experience that they have and that they bring to me. I did that, I didn't do this, I was feeling this way, I wasn't feeling that way. I was thinking I've been bad. I was thinking, ooh, one more, one bite, things like that. And we go through this grid, and so that they gain awareness, so that they see what was going on, so that they can choose to do it again if they want to, or to change a little thing, so that they evolve a little bit, they change their behavior little by little, if that makes sense.
It does. And I love that. And you're saying little by little. I speak to the fact that I actually overnight pretty well stopped purging, but that's not the point. It took me months to do what you help people do, is to acutely be aware of your emotions, acutely be like, why? And it's not that after I quit, I didn't have some desire to do it, but I stopped to think, what's causing me to do it? And like you said, it's feelings. Am I angry? Am I tired?
Yes.
Am I bored? Like, what is causing me to want to do this right now? And what can I do to stop feeling that desire to do it? So, you're absolutely right. It's pretty well everything is linked to emotions and feelings and our
Yes.
behaviors on it. And I love that you do baby steps. Like, that's really important. And to teach them to be aware. Being aware is very important. That is just lovely,
Yes.
really. And so it's like you said, it's not an overnight achievement, but it's a worthwhile one. I love that you use the freedom word. That to me is huge. Being able to have dinner with my family without, you know, needing to run away and find a bathroom somewhere and then come back and they'll probably say, no, she probably threw it up. You know, so the other thing too I had to deal with, is once you're out there and you tell people that you were bulimic, the fact that particularly in the first couple of years, people are still watching you. They're still watching. What's she doing? She's going to go to the bathroom. What's her weight like? Is she? It's you're under a microscope, but that's where you have to be your best friend and not care what other people are looking at, and you know what you're doing, and no matter what they say, you go,
Exactly.
let them think it. I know what I'm
Yeah.
doing, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I love that you're helping people with this. I think it's something like we said that has probably been around for forever, but it's so nice that there's help, that there's podcasts, that there's articles, there's even AI now. I know it's horrible.
Yeah.
I use ChatGPT. If I'm feeling something, I go, hey, I'm feeling this. What do you think? And even if it's
Do
not
that too.
100% accurate, it's just nice to
Yes.
get. It's like your buddy that you can be talking to that you know they're not going to go and tell anyone else. It's like,
Right.
oh, there's a
Yeah, and it can be very useful.
but but yeah, no, it's a good thing to go to too. And I do find it, I it's not like replacing a psychiatrist or a psychologist if you require one for anything that might be, because binge
Mm.
eating can be brought on by trauma.
Mm.
And so on. So I'm not enforcing it, but it is a good go-to when you're alone and there's no one to turn to. Seriously, I've used it.
Yeah. You totally no, and you deserve help. So whatever help you can find, yes, I think that's a good idea. And I love what you were saying, that uh, that question you used to ask yourself: what's causing me to do it? What feeling is it? And maybe your listeners know that, but there's what we call the emotional or the feels wheel that's widely available on the internet to help gain this vocabulary that I know I didn't have at all, because in my family we didn't talk about feelings. So had a very limited vocabulary. So I had to learn that too. But it can be fun. You can do it with your friends, with your family, with your kids if you have it. Just, what am I feeling? What are you feeling right now? And learn to expand your vocabulary, because it's always useful. We're always feeling an emotion anyway. So why not play with that and learn from that?
I love it. And fun is important. Positivity,
Yes.
fun is very important in life.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I've been very lucky in it's not like I haven't gone through depression and stuff like that, but I've always been optimistic behind all of whatever I've
Mhm.
had to do. I always believed that there was something better. Um,
Yes.
my daughter doesn't tend to be quite like me. She's a little bit of a pessimist, but I think
Mm.
optimism brings you a long way. It gets you through a lot, even with the worst times. If you have that little, just never lose your optimism, no matter how difficult things get. It's so important to hold on to. You seem like a very optimistic person. I've just enjoyed our conversations so much. Uh,
Oh,
and now, if you can let people know where they can find you.
yes, absolutely. Yes. So you can find me on my website, which is called Milo binge.com, and Milo is spelled Milo, binge.com. And you'll see the women I help, how I work, and what life looks like when you stop binge eating, because it's so much bigger than I thought it would be.
I love it. Thank you so, so much for being here with me today, for sharing your story.
Thank you.
I think there's a lot of insight in all of this. So thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Take care and have a great day.
Yes, you too.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit me at bleepbulimia.com.